Welcome to more Gran Turismo Sports Specialtatin. Today we're featuring one of the previous weekly races, to be exact, Group 3's at Kyoto. This particular one is the big Kyoto, but not the combined Kyoto. I'm not going to pronounce the other part of it though, because I guarantee I'll mess it up. But anyway, it's Group 3, so this ain't my best track, this ain't my worst track, but that does mean I can use a Dodge Viper, so it is one of my better cars. Let's get into it, folks. To give a bit of a reference, I qualified for like one attempt, meaning like 8 minutes before the race started is what I put into qualifying, and I qualified only in this car. The Toyota Supra is the best car because PD has a deal with Toyota. At Group 4, the Lexus is the best car. Group 3, the Toyota is the best car. I wonder why, but whatever, I'm not getting into that. What I will get into is they screwed up the Viper's balance of power even more now. Before it was slightly better than average, now it seems like the game has made it slightly below average. I mean, of course, I think it's the greatest car of all time. And we'll always use it, but at least I'm better than that car, apparently, or driver. Is that a driver error, or a car getting loose? Y'all can take that as you may. But the straight up car thing here is I can't even make this turn full throttle. Like, I can't make that bit of curving there full throttle route. The Toyota does it quite easily. The Viper can't do it. I'm not saying that every car should be downright perfect, because that's possible. I mean, different cars have their strengths and weaknesses. But the Viper should, in theory, have a strength on the straightaway. It's okay on the straightaway at best. The Supra's good on the straightaway. I say this and I'm still in second place, though. Well, maybe I'll be quiet now, because I'm kind of going to have to, because I'm going to have to focus and catch the leader, who ran a 134.0 in the Toyota. I would say I could run about half a second faster or so in the Viper, without putting tons and tons of qualifying time in. Probably in the 20-minute qualifying session, I could run about half a second faster in Viper. Probably in total, if I put many miles in, maybe a second faster. But nonetheless, I ran like a 135.6 or something in the Viper. Something like that. And the leader ran a 134.0, so no matter what, I'd still be quite behind. I say this, though, and I'm still right on the leader's back bumper. Like I said at the beginning, I'm not the best at this track, but it does look like I'm at least fairly consistent here. But again, the Viper can't make that third full throttle. For Jiminy Cricket's sakes, man. I mean, going into that turn, I used up all the track possible without giving a penalty going into the actual turns there. Like the first right-hander, I used up all the track possible, and the Toyota blew me out of the water, gained literally like a second on me just through that section alone. That driver might overall be better at this track. I'm not going to deny that because it's hard to tell. So I'm also not going to confirm it. I mean, different cars, and I assume different amounts of qualifying time as well. But it's obvious PD has made that car just infinite amounts better. It's literally better in every way. It's slightly better on the straight, as y'all saw from the straightaway of the last lap. That car is slightly worse braking. I'll go back a bit because the main focus before was on the Toyota, but now something that just sort of came out of nowhere is that car behind me that also has a penalty. I was purposely giving it room here because I noticed that it had a penalty, but it was also faster. So I didn't necessarily want to just give it the position because it was ultimately going to be slowed down anyway later on. So I didn't want to slow myself down. But if that driver wanted to get around, fair enough, because that driver is theoretically faster. I qualified 5th. That driver was ahead of me to begin with, so whatever. So what I did, because I would get a run out of the turn, is I gave a lot of room into the turn by braking later. I was ahead anyway, so I wasn't going to hit anyone. So that way that driver maybe could get a nose in and at least have an outside run. The driver stayed on the outside there, no big deal. Ultimately wouldn't really slow down either of us too much because I would probably have the lead by the time the next turn happened anyway because I got a better run off the turn. But that driver, where I gave the outside line to, decided to go pretty much completely to the inside. You can't even see the car. They went so much to the inside. I was hoping they'd give a bit more room here. I mean, for Jiminy Cricket's sakes, I gave 3/4 of the turn in the previous turn by braking later, but no. That driver literally sweeps into me and gets... Like, that driver's aiming for the rumble strips. At this point, I'm being pushed almost to the grass. I wonder why that driver had a penalty before. As much as I gripe about the Gran Turismo Sport penalty system, I will say this. The penalty system is okay at giving the driver that deserves the penalty. Just a lot of the time they give undeserved penalties. I mean, ultimately that's probably the best way to judge how good a penalty system is if they get the driver that deserves the penalty. But a lot of times in racing, though, there's just a downright mistake. Nobody's perfect. Ultimately, a mistake happens more than dirty driving. So they shouldn't penalize a mistake, even though they do, short of kind of get the dirty driving correct. So ultimately, that driver did get more of a penalty. I think it was 4 seconds by the time they went to the line, when before it was 2. But still, that's... Generally, I'll be nice to other drivers, whether they have a penalty or not the first time around. A lot of the times, though, and it's showed on videographic proof, when I'm nice, though, I generally am the one that gets screwed over. That's why I usually will race eye for an eye. If the driver never did anything to begin with, though, I should probably quit being as nice to them. Also, another thing with the bounce power, too, though, is... Racing different cars is nice and such. Like, look at me in the Viper and then that driver in the BMW. As y'all saw going into last turn, the Viper just in general has good brakes. It's kind of the one thing that bounce power can never really fix or nerf or whatever, is this brake power of the car. As in real life, the Viper has good brakes. I gained a lot of time on a BMW but couldn't even use it. Luckily, though, the BMW just wrecked anyway, so that helps, I guess. This has definitely been an up and down race, I'll say that. A lot of the drivers just downright messed up, and then some of the drivers that messed me up got penalized for it because they did it on purpose. And I messed up my fair share too, but even the leader has as well. At this point, though, it's looking like the leader's gone because someone messed me up when I was trying to catch the leader. But I've caught the leader again, as I was saying at the beginning, more part of the video. Probably not, but at least it would have been a somewhat better race. Can this end up being a better race, though? I mean, it's a pretty cotton-picking good race up there. I'll say that. If they keep on battling cleanly, I can catch up. Granted, if they battle dirty, I almost will catch up, because look at how many other drivers wrecked throughout the course of this race. Including myself, because I got wrecked. I would say at least 4 cars have gone off the track at any given point. The leader did at one point, I did at one point because I got wrecked. That car spun right at the beginning of the race, and then the BMW went wide around the turn, so that's 4. I started in 5th and ended in 5th, from what it's looking like. But it's actually looking more and more like, though, maybe I can gain on this pack, though, so... Or I say pack of 2 cars, but if I get into it, it's 3 cars, so I consider that a small pack, if I can get into it in time. Though... I get a decent run around that turn. In general, that little bit of turn there seemed to be my best part of the track. Maybe again because the Viper has good brakes. Can I use the good brakes here? Maybe. Actually, that's because I should get a run out of the turn. No, I don't. And they give me negative SR for that. Yeah, the penalty system is not the worst it's ever been. At least they do give penalties to the drivers that deserve it, but they should quit penalizing drivers who just downright make a mistake as well. There wasn't any big issues of that this race, but I mean still, from the very start of the race with drivers spinning and such, but then getting penalties from hitting a wall after they were already spinning to begin with, which has been downright stupid since the game came out. To the very end of, there's literally nowhere I could go. I just barely tapped another car directly to its rear bumper, meaning there was no way that car is going to spin. If anything, it just benefits from it because it gets a slight speed boost. And I still get the negative SR rating from that, even though there was literally nothing else I could do there. I could not physically get around the other car because it was exiting a turn. I was already going full walk to the right at the end of the turn. There was nothing I could do. There wasn't any track on the left to use. So, the penalty system still ain't the greatest, but honestly, this is about the greatest race I've had in a while. Y'all can take that as you may. I just wanted to do a Specialtatin because I haven't in a while, and this is honestly the best race I've had in a while. Granted, I haven't had many races total in a while, but still. Take that as you may. I mean, I'll say this. It was quite a roller coaster of a race. At one point, I was battling for the lead, and then at another point, I got dive bombed by another driver who just didn't care where my car was. But at least the penalty went to that driver and not myself. Penalty system is about a 5 out of 10 right now. Still unacceptable, but not the worst it's ever been. This race, I would say, is about a 7 out of 10. Good enough to specialtate, but that's kind of about it. Finish to this race was exactly average. I started where I finished. All in all, is that where yeehaw? Well, 5 out of 10, 7 out of 10, and 5 out of 10 equals barely over 5 out of 10, so it is slightly above average. Yeehaw. It's kind of the best we can do now, slightly above average. That probably ain't worth really a yeehaw as much anymore. Hopefully we get some better stuff in the future. As of now, the future is pretty much just waiting for GT7.